Okay, it's time to start another installment on the International Travelette crew cab pickup build. And what we got right here is one of our donor trucks. This is going to be the chassis and drivetrain, and it's a 94 F350, and it's a factory turbo diesel. This was the last year they made the International IDI, mechanical injected V8. And the last few years they did offer them with a factory turbo, which this one has, and that's one thing I was looking for. They've got a little beefier rods inside the engine, and of course, you know, this is a pretty compact turbo setup, and they make enough boost to make the engines come alive. I'm not looking to make 30 pounds of boost or anything, but anyway, so also the later model IDIs for like the last 3 years had serpentine accessory drives, which I really like. These with the old V-belts were kind of a rat's nest to get worked out, so this makes things a lot cleaner. So anyway, this is what we're starting with. We'll be able to adapt the forward air conditioning to a vintage air inside unit. You don't have to worry about doing accessories and so forth. And so anyway, this, of course, this whole truck's going away except for the chassis and the engine and transmission. So anyway, it had a flatbed on it, which we cut loose and drove to the scrapyard the other day and had them take the flatbed off with a crane and scrap that. And this chassis is in real good shape. Previous owner had just replaced this rear fuel tank. Not sure really how a diesel fuel tank goes bad, but I don't know. For some reason they decided to replace it. I'm in the process of cutting off these last few spots where the flatbed was installed. And over there we've got the bed that we traded for the International. And we'll talk about that just a little bit here in just a minute. This frame on this truck is about 3 inches wider than the original International frame, but as it works out, if you see right there where that small bolt hole is at, that's close to where the body mount's going to line up on the back of the International cab. They're literally going to sit right on top of the frame rails, which is going to make at least getting started work real well. This frame does drop down as it goes under this cab, and you know, we'll have some fabricating to do under there to make the International fit. Now, if my measurements are correct, this truck is an extended cab long bed, okay? This International bed is a long bed, and then of course you've seen the International crew cab, and they're obviously longer than a super cab would be. And if my measurements are correct, we need to shorten this bed 10 inches to be able to put the International 4-door, and of course line up our front, our front wheels. And the bed or the back of the cab is going to stop about where that bracket's at right there. And in order to make this bed work, seeing as how it's a long bed, we'll take 10 inches out of the front of it. That's going to put it about 8 inches longer than a short bed. So it's kind of going to be a medium bed, and I think it's going to look great, but that's just the way it's got to be. Be a little bit of work to shorten it, but not terrible the way these beds are put together. And if I had built it as I mean, some people say, why don't you just, move your, stretch your frame or move your wheels back and go ahead and make it a long bed. I don't want a 4-door long bed. I can't get a 4-door long bed in this bay and put it on my lift. This is the maximum that we can get in here. We can get a super cab long bed or a 4-door short bed, and that's about all we can get on our lift. So that's what we're going to do. And the more things I can leave unchanged on this this chassis right here, the better it's going to work out. I mean, I've been driving this truck some. This truck drives out great. No real issues. We are going to freshen the motor a little bit. But drives out great, smooth, no vibrations. It's just going to be nice not to monkey with changing drive shaft lengths and moving rear ends. We are going to change this rear end to a single wheel 355 gear, which I have in another donor truck. And then these front hubs will be changed to F250 hubs, which is super easy. So we won't use the dually style wheel. But, you know, other than that, I want to leave as much of this alone because, again, it's a great running, driving truck, and that's what we're after. So anyway, I've talked just a little bit about this bed. Pretty pleased with this bed. I've looked it over underneath and, you know, down in the bed floor, and I've not found any rot in the bed itself. And from underneath, I can't see anything under where this toolbox is at. This toolbox is rotted out. It's got to go, and we'll probably do away with the railings. But, you know, front of the bed looks good. I haven't found any rust in the wheel openings. We got a little torn place right there we can fix. And, you know, it's got some dents and beat up, kind of like our cab is. This is almost a rat rod project anyway. Got a little bulge right there to straighten out. But other than that, it's in really good shape. It's going to be a perfect candidate to cut up and shorten, because you'd hate to do that to something that's perfect. But here's what I can't figure out. How did the outer skin of the tailgate get that rusty? And the inside, no, I mean, I don't even see a pinhole. Maybe if I got the hammer and I could find it. But again, this bed has just not got any rot in it except the back part of that tailgate. I don't know. I just don't understand that. Maybe the way the road spray splashes up around the bumper. I don't know. And that's fixable. You know, we'll worry about that later. And may do a different style tailgate. Got a, you know, dent right here, but it is a tailgate. It's something to work with, and that's kind of what the whole, you know, rat rod thing is about. You just kind of take what you got and cobble it together, make it work. It's what we did on our 49 F1 that we did videos on. So anyway, I'll stop for this part of the video, and then we'll add a little more to it, and it'll be episode number 2. Hopefully it won't be too much longer. We can have all of this stripped off and start setting the body on and getting everything fitted. Okay, so we got the body off the F350, and I actually have a buyer for, found a guy who wanted everything, the body, doors, hood, front clip, interior pieces, everything. So we kept the wiring harness, which is going to go in the International, and we kept the core support, which we may or may not use pieces of, and of course, you know, running gear, everything frame related, and all the front harness and the front part of the AC stuff and everything. So anyway, this is going to be our donor. So still got a bunch of stuff to strip off of the front, just down to the bare engine before we start test fitting the body of the International. But anyway, so this will hang here a couple days until my guy comes and picks it up. But it'd be nice to have all of this stuff out of the way. In case you're wondering, it's about a solid day and a half of work for a couple of guys to get a truck stripped like that. Maybe go quicker if you knew what you were doing or did a lot of them, but there's a lot to it, especially when you're trying to save harness and not trash fasteners and body panels and everything. So anyway, we'll continue on. Okay, we got the International crew cab sitting on the F350 frame and ready to start building body mounts. It's a little hard to video in here because we are crammed full today with truck and parts and everything, but I'm fairly pleased with where it's already sitting, and like I say, I haven't even started mounts. That's just kind of letting it sit where it wants to sit, and we can tweak it with the mounts and everything. But that's really close to where it's going to be, and we had to notch a good bit at the back. I got to measuring, and I did all that before I even tried to sit the body on. It's like, yeah, this thing's definitely going to have to be notched because this frame was set up for extended cab. You can see how much of the back floor we cut out. But I got to thinking about it, looking at it, and this is absolutely wasted space. You can see these seat risers. The bench seat goes completely across that, and you know, all you had was a catch-all hole underneath the seat, and not going to be a problem. We're going to build a new cross member to come across the top of the frame and do our rear frame mounts, and then, you know, fill our floor in here. You won't really even be able to see an extra bump or anything there. Your feet are going to be up here, so it's not going to be a problem at all. Just a lot of welding, and there was a little bit of rust in the bottom seam, in the bottom pinch weld at the bottom of the cab, right across there. So it really was a good thing. You know, we cut that out, and I don't know if I would have fixed it anyway, but anyway, it's out now. And so let me walk around, and well, Mike can do it from this side. You can see we also took out a pretty good chunk of this thing had a huge tunnel in it, and we still had to cut a bunch out. So I've discovered it's easier to cut a bunch out than to just, you know, nibble and snip and nibble and trim and bend, and just cut a big chunk out, make it fit, and then put your tunnel back in. Let me walk around the other side. Go ahead and show. I'm fairly pleased with the wheel and the wheel opening. Now granted, that's still going to come down because this suspension is not really loaded yet. There's still a lot of weight to go on the truck, and we'll probably put a little softer set of springs under it. We also won't be running the dually wheel, and the fact that it's twin I-beam and it's kind of sitting on the ground, it's hard to explain, but they have to roll a little bit as you put weight on them to let the suspension settle. So this thing will come down, I'm gonna say it'll come down 4 more inches. So we're great on height. Looks good to me center wise. I don't mind them a little, you know, a little proud towards the front. They look, I think, look a little better. So anyway, I discovered that these inner fenders on the International just unbolt. All the metal comes out, and your fenders stay attached to the core support. So we just took all those out, didn't have to worry about fighting or trimming, and I don't think they're going to take a lot of trimming to go right back in, but we just got them out of the way, and man, it made it nice. We've got plenty of room for radiator and air conditioning. And then as we cut out back here, you see we've got room, that valve cover will come off, and we've got clearance up around the turbo once we build back the inner part. On this side over here, got just a little bit of trimming right there around that valve cover. Probably follow that. If you see this curvy part, which is the master cylinder brace, I'm probably just gonna follow that, and then this little part that sticks out right there was for the old clutch. That can be trimmed off, and that'll look like it's kind of made for it. And then, like I say, we'll finish off inside and get our gas pedal mounted. But I was a little concerned about my wiper motor because I can't really relocate that without a world of hurt, and we're in good shape. Real good shape there. Even if I needed to, you know, if I came down another ½ inch or inch, we'd still be all right. Turbo tucks back in there okay. And then, as you can see, this point right here is pretty much the tallest part of the motor. That's the air box for the turbo. And you can see we've about got the body down as low as it can go, but the, you know, it'll clear all that. And then up front, excuse my grill piece missing and letting the grill piece droop. And then I've got a little bit of little bit of crash damage right up here in the corner to pull out, but it's not bad. And we can, this is what's going to be really cool. This thing originally had that was the front body mount. It had one rubber and one bolt and had a cross member across it, and then it had two rubber pads that sat back under this area that it just rested on, but that was the only bolt holding it. So I was going to build another cross member and do that. And then I got to looking. Well, this side's easier to see. This is the stock core support mount. We can just build up off of that. This whole area here is strong because that's where it was mounted in the middle, and we can just do a mount here with rubber, and then one on this side. And I'm going to notch the frame a little bit to let it come around that valance, and then of course we'll trim off as needed when we do front bumper, but that's going to work out fabulous. And then let's see, let me get inside here. And it shows this side. This is all the downpipe for the turbo and everything, and just went ahead and cut out, and then we'll put our tunnel back in. It's not as bad as it looks really, because again, this thing had a huge tunnel that was removable. It was just going to be tight right here in this area, and then right up in that area. So we'll be good. And like I said, I've got the dash out of it, so you know the dash comes way out and covers it. We'll have room for a vintage air unit. And you can see right here, this is typical on these old trucks and a lot of old vehicles. The cowl is rusted out, and I think we talked a little bit about the cowl, but as you can see, you know, you have these vents that are there for fresh air, and then they collect all kind of sticks and twigs over the years and leaves, and they settle in there and they rust out. Of course, we'll be doing away with all of this. That'll be blocked off. You don't need any of that for vintage air. And in this spot right here is hidden by the inner fender, and that's part of the cowl as well. I'm pretty sure I'm not even going to bother fixing the cowl. I don't see any need to. I'm going to do away with these vents and just go ahead and seal the truck up tight. The best thing to do is to keep the water from getting inside rather than trying to give the water somewhere to go, which is what they did on the old cowls. You know, they had a drain in the bottom, and of course it gets stopped up and then the water sits there. So it's better to keep the water out than to try to tell it where to go, because water wins every time. So anyway, I think I'm gonna wrap this video up. Not a whole lot to see back here. I'm actually going to be able to retain both tanks if I want to. And then of course the bed mount, the bed's got to be shortened as we said, and you know, it'll hide all of this stuff even once we've welded all that back in, but that doesn't look bad at all. And we've got room for about a 7 foot, maybe 7'2" bed is about what it's going to take. And of course, again, we'll be getting rid of the dually wheels, but track width, as you can see from here, is good. The F250 wheels with the F250 hubs will sit about the same spot as those tires. So this thing's going to be a beast. Looking forward to hopefully someday finishing it. So anyway, we'll wrap it up here, and I'll see you on the next episode.